You clicked on this video because you want to know how to make money online, and I'm going to show you the most efficient and effective path to generating 100K in 6 months. And this is the simplest model. I said simple, not easy, but it's the simplest model, no holding back, the blueprint that you need even if you're starting from zero, and it actually kind of works in your favor if you are starting from zero. And I'm going to explain why a little bit later in the video. And this is coming from my own experience of generating over $30 million online. And the best part is all that's really required is something that you already have. And trust me when I say I have been the guinea pig for this. I have made all the mistakes so you don't have to. I have faced all the challenges and obstacles, and I've been doing this a very long time. And I've been able to teach over 3,000 people this time-tested strategy, getting people to their first 100K year and 100K month and beyond. And I actually put together a free guide that details every single little crucial step you need to truly be able to scale past that 100K mark. So if you want that, comment, give me the guide below, and we'll drop the link so you can grab it. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about the requirements of what you actually need to get to 100K. I mentioned earlier, it's something that you already have. That's the only thing you really require. So do you need a website or a landing page? No. Do you need a funnel or a tech stack? Absolutely not at this stage. Do you need to know how to film and edit? No. Do you need a personal brand? No. And do you need to sell more than one thing? Absolutely not, and I would not recommend it, and you will understand why by the end of the video. Now that you know what you don't require and what's not needed, well, where do we start? So we're actually gonna start with a very simple question. What are you good at? That's where we need to start, because this is the secret behind your 100K business, your 100K a month business, and beyond that. So what are you good at? And another way to ask this question is if someone asked you right now, they said, you need to go on stage and give a TED Talk right now, what would you talk about? Another way to think about this is, what do people always come to you for over anybody else? What's the advice that they want from you? What's the guidance that they want from you? What's the skill that people come to you for? I want you to think about that right now, and feel free to comment below with those ideas. Now, why is this so important? Because this is a very good indication of what you are capable of teaching. So what we're really talking about is we're talking about monetizing your knowledge, your skill set, your expertise. And there are many ways to do this. We have memberships, one-on-one, cohorts, 100% self-paced courses. And then there's the option that I have landed on and that I've taught to other people that is the most effective way to do this and the most sustainable way to do it. So it's not just a one-hit wonder. So memberships, let's talk about those first. Memberships can seem great from the outside because you are getting folks in at a lower price point generally, and it's like a monthly subscription and payment. The only challenge though, and it's a big challenge in this model, is retention. Because think about it this way, when somebody enters into a membership, once they learn what they need to know, their incentive and their need to continue paying you goes down and down and down. So retention becomes a big problem here. And to add on to that problem, because you are generally using a low price point per month, your cash flow, your profitability as a business is slim, which makes it very hard to carry on the business. So that's memberships. They have a place, but it's not the model that I would go with. One-on-one. At the end of the day, how many hours do we have in a day? 24 hours. We can't make more time. So inevitably with one-on-one work, you run into this issue where you are slammed with one-on-one meetings and you just can't take on any more clients, especially if you're great at what you do. That's awesome. But if you're so good at what you do, wouldn't it be nice to be able to impact more people with your knowledge instead of sort of working in these one-on-one silos and limiting and creating a ceiling for yourself, your income, and your impact? Cohorts. Okay, so this means that you're bringing a bunch of people into a program and to learn your expertise and your skill set at one time. They're all going through it at the same time, and they have a start date and an end date. Now, this can be really impactful, but what it does is it puts a time limit on the person inside of the program who needs to learn from you. And what I have learned over the years, and I tested this model for myself, is that it does limit the impact you can ultimately make because not everybody is gonna learn at the same pace or learn in the same way. So it really does create sort of a cap on how much of a impact that you can have on the people who are inside of your program. And ultimately, they may then leave your cohort and then have to go somewhere else to learn more about it and actually achieve what they were looking to achieve through you. Now, 100% self-paced. This is a 100% self-paced course. It means that you hand them the curriculum, they study it, and they're off to the races. The problem with this is that generally, if you're doing it completely self-paced, you have a limit to how much you can charge for it. And you're going to get people inside this program that are just not going to do it. Online courses in general, there is sort of an issue with people investing and then not doing the work. And so with the self-paced program, there is no accountability. There is no real initiative for the person enrolling to make sure that they get it done, and they're not invested enough to really put in the work. And what does that do? It creates not great results for the program, and inevitably, if your program doesn't create great results, you're just not going to get more people or more clients into it. So that creates that whole sustainability issue and long-term success issue. So what we created and what we have taught to thousands of people to date is what we call CAS. What that stands for is coaching at scale. So essentially what this means is that, yes, you have a curriculum that is self-paced, but there is also built-in accountability, there is built-in support through a community of mentors and of other folks who are inside the program. So it creates this incredible space where you're able to win with each other, you're able to learn with each other, and it just creates a lot of momentum. We call it an accelerator for that reason. And then we have coaching at scale because there's weekly calls where you can actually speak to us one-to-one with the rest of the members there in attendance. And so some people may not even know that they have a question, and you ask something and they go, oh my gosh, that just solved that problem for me. So it really does create this accelerated learning environment. And after testing so many things in the last decade, we have had this model now for over 5 years, and nothing has worked as well as this. In addition, we have a lifetime access to the program, and this is what we teach our clients as well, because our clients who have now gone on to generate multiple millions with their business per year, they're still inside of this community. They're still offering support and mentorship and cheering the new members on. And it takes so much pressure off of the founder of the business, because now it's not just on you to teach what you know, but now you have a whole army of folks who can chime in, who are implementing it and provide their own guidance and advice as well. So remember when I talked about efficiency, effectiveness, simplicity? I don't really do complicated. I've tried it. I don't like it. It doesn't really work super well. So I want to explain why that is so important in terms of actually being able to grow and reach the people that you want to reach. So you may have heard the term value ladder. What a value ladder essentially is it means that you have a low ticket offer here. So like, let's say $100, $200, $300. And then you have a high ticket offer here, and you might even have an offer in the middle. And what the goal is that you bring somebody in at low ticket, and then they upgrade to high, middle, and then they go to high ticket. So I've done all these things. We axed this years ago. It was very successful. It had done very well. Probably the biggest reason that we shut down this offer is because as much as it had had success over the years, we found that the people coming into this offer, because anybody could buy it from anywhere, you could just go and click a button and buy it and be inside the program, we found that there was a lower level of actual energy investment. And so people were asking a ton of questions, requiring a ton of support, even though a lot of what they were asking was actually inside of the program. But because they didn't feel so serious about the investment, they weren't really taking it seriously. And that was leading to way more resources on our end being required for something that wasn't getting like astronomical results at the end of the day. So I made the choice to go to a place where we only had our application only program. We've been doing this now for about 5 years. And at this point, I can confidently say this is the best business model that I've had, because we are so cautious about who we allow into our program, because we want to ensure you're at the right place where we can actually support you and you are ready and willing to actually do the work. I often say this and people think it's a joke, but we say no more than we say yes to folks who want to be a part of our program, because that is how protective I am about the community inside the program and the longevity of the business and the health of the business. So we ended up making our business even more successful and having even more results, because the folks that are in this program are so invested that they are doing the work, they are changing their lives, and we have success story after success story after success story. We have a whole YouTube channel actually dedicated to those success stories, and they just keep coming. So that is the value of having one offer that is your sole focus, and all of our resources are centered around this offer. I do want to share a story in a second, and I think it's important to understand there is something to be said about the psychology of pricing. And we have learned so much about this over the years. And we have a client who actually had a low ticket offer, sold it for $99, and no one was buying it. It was like pulling teeth to get a customer. And yet he has grown this very successful business now, leveraging this model, and is creating this incredible impact as well. So I do just want to talk about structure-wise as well. So this is the other complication of when you have multiple offers or you implement something like a value ladder that no one really talks about. So for multiple offers, for each of these offers, let's say this is 1, this is 2. Each of them requires ops, sales, traffic, we can also call that leads, marketing, fulfillment, and more. So not just this offer, but now you're doing all those same things for this offer as well. So what this does is it creates something we call horizontal scaling. You are spreading yourself thin with multiple offers and reaping a very small reward in terms of your peace, your sanity in the business, and also just from a revenue perspective as well. Whereas when you have one offer only around your expertise and your skill set, you can make sure that this is the most impactful it can be. You're not diversifying your customers and this person's only getting a portion of what they need to know and this person's getting the whole enchilada. Instead, every person who comes in is gonna have everything they need to create the most incredible transformation to show what an authority and an expert you are. So what this does, and what it does for our business and for our clients, is it creates vertical scaling, because all of your resources, all of those things I just mentioned, are going into one offer. So that just lifts it and allows you to smash any income or impact ceiling, and you can scale it and grow it to the moon and continue to get the best possible results from it as well. And what this also makes very clear is that when you have multiple offers, you also need more infrastructure generally. And so you may need a bigger team. Whereas we have this model and we have a fairly lean team, and we have clients who have scaled to $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year by themselves, or with a team of 2 or 3 people max. An online business can be a very lean business model, meaning that you have low expenses and high profitability, which allows you to have cash flow security in the business and continue to grow with ease. And this model of just the one offer allows you to do that in a much healthier and more sustainable way. So to create this really efficient path to scaling to your first 100K, we need to answer the 2 W's of scale. And this is real simple, as I like to say. So we are looking at who are you ultimately trying to reach with your expertise and knowledge, and what are you offering them? What are they gonna get out of it? If you can answer these 2 questions, you have the base of a very solid business. So let's start with the second thing. So what are you selling? The best way to understand this is you are selling the outcome. So what I mean by that is we're selling what we call the hero outcome. And so any online education business, any online program, it has to be transformative. I say this all the time, bit of a broken record, but people do not pay for information, they pay for transformation. So your offer has to be transformative, especially in this day and age with how much content is out there, how much free content is out there. People can learn pretty much anything, but what they can't do necessarily on their own is achieve an actual transformation. So you are selling the outcome of whatever your expertise is. I'm gonna share a very tangible example of this in just a few minutes, but this is where we wanna start. So what is the outcome or the impact that you want to have on people with the thing that you are very good at? Bringing it back to that first question, what is the outcome? And then this brings us to who you are ultimately selling to. So that's down here. We call this the zero state. So this is when the person you're serving is in the most frustrated, urgent, painful, challenged place. And this, I would say, is truly the most important factor to creating a business that is going to be able to attract a lot of clients and clients who are really ready to do the work. And I'll explain that a little bit more later. But I wanted to give an example of this as mentioned. So we talk a lot about there is a vitamin program and a prescription program. Now, the biggest difference between these two is this: where the person is starting when they get into your program and ultimately how you're reaching them. So a vitamin program is a nice to have. It's kind of like that program I was talking about earlier, where people would come in, they'd kind of do it if they wanted to do it, but they weren't really taking it seriously. It's like, I need to take my vitamins every day, but sometimes I forget. It's not the end of the world. Whereas if I have a prescription because I'm really sick, I will be taking that every day because I have to. There is pain, there is urgency there. And so we need to make sure that your program fills a prescription. Ultimately, you are the doctor. You are diagnosing if the person is in enough urgency and pain to actually do the work. Why? Because if they don't do the work, you won't have results for your program and no one else is going to want to buy it. So the prescription comes from this zero state, like I said. So where is the person at when they're in the most challenged place? So the example I want to provide here is actually from a client of ours who teaches European Portuguese. So there are a bajillion different opportunities out there to learn languages. There are free apps, there are very accessible memberships online, but she teaches European Portuguese to folks who are moving, relocating to Portugal for a job or for a reason that they actually have to live there. So they absolutely cannot get away with not learning the language. And I just want to share an update she shared with us recently. So she said, we have a pretty wild win to share. The month that we had 100,000 YouTube subscribers is also the month we hit our first 100K month ever. We are kind of pinching ourselves. Now, did this happen overnight? No. When we first met, she was making $1,500 a month and she had 1,700 subscribers on YouTube. But slow and steady, lots of results through time, and making sure she's only serving people who are actually in that place where they're ready to do the work has led to her getting phenomenal results for her clients. The best marketing you'd ask for, because if you have social proof and results, you don't have to market as hard because people are like, if it works, I'm in. So that's a really good example of a prescription program that very well could have been a vitamin program that really wouldn't have sold as well. And this equally shares and illuminates the point of who you're not selling to. So let's say that Liz was sharing her expertise with folks who were total beginners. So I want to talk about this because selling to beginners is going to be painful, because if you're at the place where you're just starting your journey, you're kind of dipping your toe in, you're not really going to take it seriously. So if she was selling to anybody who wanted to learn how to speak European Portuguese, then she would have a bunch of clients inside of her program who weren't doing the work. And what does that lead to? Again, no results. And that makes it very hard to scale your program and get more people in the door that you can really have an impact on. And the other issue with beginner programs, especially now, is, you probably guessed it, AI. AI has created even more free information on the internet. You could learn, I think, anything on AI. But if you are at a very specific place and you need the experience of somebody who's been there and done that, and actually the step-by-step process of creating that transformation, this isn't gonna cut it. You need expert guidance, someone who has been there, done that, created the roadmap, and is actually a human being who can offer you support and guidance with the CAS model that I mentioned earlier. So the beauty of this is efficiency. Now we know, okay, we know the zero state, we know the hero state, we know why this person is going to take this seriously. So ultimately what you're selling is the curriculum which bridges the gap between the zero and the hero state. So your online program lays out that roadmap to get this person from zero all the way to hero. And once you know that, you then actually have something you can sell. So even if you haven't built this, this is where you need to prove your offer. So we are not going to build the program. We're not going to lay out the modules. We're not going to make it pretty. We're not going to do all the filming and editing to make it fancy looking because no one cares. That's the secret here. People just want to get the outcome they're looking for. So the faster you can get it to market, the better. The faster you can test it in the real world, the better. So we call this a POP, which stands for Profitable Offer Prototype. So once you know the transformation you're creating and you can lay out the curriculum outline to get people from zero to hero, then you can start attracting clients, which is what we're digging into next. And you can start delivering the curriculum to them in real time live for the first round so that you can really understand, have I done this in the right order? Is this landing? Is it working? Do I need to switch things up and make those adjustments before you create this pre-packaged program, which saves you so much time. The amount of people who come to us who have spent years creating an online course and never sold to anybody is painful. So instead, we take the approach of figure out the transformation, figure out the starting and ending point for your ideal client, zero and hero, create the curriculum outline, get clients in the door, test that curriculum on them, make it the best it can be, package into a pre-recorded program, and then you're off to the races and you can scale from there. So this brings me to how most people try to get clients, which is pretty painful. So this really starts with traffic, leads. Most of the time, this looks like social media. Obviously, if you want to get traffic and leads, that means you need to be posting content. So the traffic goes to the content, or you create content that creates the traffic and leads. I'm going to explain the problem with this in just a second. So that brings people to a landing page, which is so pretty, and we spent so much time on our landing page to make it seem so desirable to be a part of the program, and no one's buying. And that hopefully, fingers crossed, we call it hope marketing, leads to a client. Why is this so painful? Well, because it makes the assumption that you actually have traffic and people who care, and a lot of people don't. So this system is somewhat broken, and it creates a lot of friction in reaching the people who need you the most at the deepest level. So this also assumes that you're going to build an audience. So let's, do that first. The problem with that too is it can actually have long-term negative effects to the ability to get your program seen by the right people. And so you might be thinking to yourself, well, then I'll just pay for it. Let me just do some paid ads, because that seems like an easy thing to do. I assure you, it is not. And paid ads are something I would not recommend doing, and I do not recommend doing until you actually have a proven offer with real results. Because before you have that, it's really hard to create messaging and create a paid ad that actually converts. So essentially all you're doing is you're making it rain and throwing money into a dumpster fire. And we do not want to do that. So now you know the methods that aren't really optimal for finding ideal clients. And I'm going to show you the way that we do it in just a second here. But before I do, if you're at a place where you're like, hey, this makes a lot of sense, and I actually do want to monetize my knowledge, my expertise in this way, we've created a free guide. Comment below with give me the guide, and we'll send you our guide on the 10 steps to 10x your impact and your income without trading time for money. Okay, so let's get into how to find your ideal clients. And this, I warn you, I'm gonna warn you right now, because you're probably gonna sit there and go, this sounds way too simple. And it might be, but it works. And shockingly, the most simplistic things tend to be the most effective. So please don't wait to find your ideal clients. Please don't sit back and go, I gotta build my following from scratch. I gotta do all of these things to find the people who are gonna be the best fit for my program, so I can wait to prove my offer, so I can wait to actually sell it, so I can wait to actually scale it. That is the passive approach to building a business, and that just doesn't work in the beginning stages. You have to be active about this. So the number one, and we call this the money question, to find your ideal clients, it's actually gonna start with this. Do you know anyone struggling with, that's it. And who are you gonna send this to? Because you're probably sitting there going, great question, who do I send that to? So the process looks like this. We always start, we recommend having your first conversations, and I say conversations, not clients, for a reason, you'll understand in a second, with your warm audience. This means your network, your friends and family, the people that you know. peers in your industry, people who have a similar audience to you who would be willing to help you out, reaching out to them and saying, hey, do you know anyone who happens to be struggling with whatever your niche is, whatever the problem is that you're solving? And you would be shocked at how effective this is. And what happens from there is those people will send you some people to speak to. They will give you some names, some contacts, they'll start the conversation for you. And from those people, those initial conversations, you ask the same thing. Do you happen to know anyone else struggling with this? Sure do. And then you build a cold audience. And from there, then it starts to make sense to actually post what we call magnetic messaging. Because why? Because you actually have people who care. You've actually built a teeny tiny little audience. But you very well can build your client base for the first round of your program just by doing these things. And so this really is based off of one-on-one human connection. And there's a very important reason for that. So we call this essentially a no friction sales funnel because all it really is human, Zoom call, lead. And you'll understand why this works so well and why you don't need to do a ton of these to actually hit your goals with your program once I run through the numbers a little bit later. But having this one-on-one connection, you're not looking at these people as clients, you're looking at them as conversations and research and development ultimately of your program, because you're gonna ask them very specific questions about what they're struggling with, how long they've been struggling with it. And one of the most golden questions you can ask is, in seeking out a solution for this, what are you looking for? What do you wish somebody would tell you? What do you wish somebody would do for you? That is hand delivering you perfect parts of your curriculum that you can build in to delivering to your clients, and they go, oh my gosh, you're in my brain, because you actually listen. So you can spend years and years and years trying to build an audience and build a course and not know if anybody's gonna sell it, or you can look at this and go, yeah, this does sound like actual work, but it works. And it's a much lower barrier to entry. It's more human to human connection. It is going to create such a strong foundation from your business because you're not guessing. The curse of knowing something and having an expertise is going, I know exactly what people need. If you've ever said that, you're screwing yourself. You have to listen to people. So I'm gonna actually show you an example of this. And the guy that I was talking about earlier who tried to sell the $99 course that nobody wanted to buy, so he implemented the system. And he was a little bit upset with me when he started it because he's like, this is just so simple, it can't be. I've spent so much time creating a funnel and creating this course that no one's buying. But he's thankful now, and you'll see why. So he started having just direct conversations. He didn't really have an audience online. He was starting his quote unquote brand from scratch, and he just started having direct connections. So he reached out to this gentleman on Instagram, and he said, hey Joe, as a side note, I'm working on a training course tailored for pizzeria and all around restaurant operators and would love your take on it for my research. As someone with experience, your perspective is gold. Would you be open to a quick Zoom call so I can maximize this thing? This is not a sales call or anything like that. Just research, and you'd be doing me a big favor. If you have anything you want to run by me on the call for how I do anything, culture, systems, etc., no problem. I'm down to answer your questions too. Just want to lift the industry. He gets a response. Hey Mike, I'd be honored to help. Just let me know what you need. The more training, the better. Right on, here's the link, and then the call was booked. So as I said, this is part of the research and development process. You're not looking at these conversations as an opportunity to close a sale, because you ultimately are still learning what you need to put into your curriculum, so it's something that's actually really solid and can last a really long time, and you're not whipping it together in 2 minutes and hoping that it sells. So Mike followed this process, and he reached out directly because he didn't have an audience. He was reaching out directly to folks. So where can you do this? Well, there are a multitude of places. Social media platforms, YouTube comment sections, Facebook groups, Reddit forums, friends and family, your network, offline events where your ideal client would be hanging out, just to start the conversation, because this is purely for research. So by doing this, he ended up speaking to 50 people who had golden advice for him and people who needed his help. But he wasn't sure exactly what they needed, so listening made his program astronomically better. So he does these 50 calls, and from there, you then take that information and you start to really optimize that curriculum outline we talked about earlier to make the best program possible. And then when he actually has the curriculum outline dialed in and he's ready to deliver it live in a live setting, he goes back to those 50 people he spoke to. And then you can say to them, hey, you know that thing you really wanted? I made it. Are you interested? You've already spoken to these people. You have a connection with them. You took the time to listen to them. You validated how they're feeling. And they're going, yeah, I need that thing. Thank you for creating it. And this is what happened.
Around 10 of them weren't at all ideal. And of the 40, 35 took the call.
So from there, what were the results? Well, of those 35, 25 of them ended up enrolling for a total of $90,000 in 3 weeks. And he went on to say, I wrote a whole book that reached #1 on Amazon, and I made more money in 3 weeks than the book made in 3 years. So with an Instagram account, Zoom, and a Stripe account to process payments, he generated just under 100K in 3 weeks. So where does this lead us? Well, this is setting up a strong foundation. And the long-term benefit of this is ultimately, by starting in this way, you're kind of hacking authority and audience building from day one. Because any social media platform requires a few things for your content to be seen by the right people. And once you know who the right people are and what they need from you, which is what this process is all about, of the research and development, then you can create content and go to town on social media, and you're actually gonna get results from it. You're gonna get leads, you're gonna get traffic, you're gonna get clients, really from the beginning, because you're doing it in the right way. So why is this so important? Because ultimately, any algorithm needs to know ideal follower. Ideal follower, subscriber, client, okay? And then we make relevant content or magnetic messaging that appeals to the ideal follower. They then start engaging with that content because it's actually what they care about. And then the algorithm categorizes you as an authority on this topic. And then the algorithm starts to push more and more traffic your way without you doing as much work, because they want your content to be seen, because your content is needed and people are actually engaging with it. And it's very clear to them who you want to engage with it. So it starts using its internal traffic sources and every social platform, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, every single one of them. This is how it works. I've been doing social media for over a decade. Trust when I say it's really this simple. So this creates this well-oiled machine that is so much more intentional than just randomly posting content and hoping that somebody's gonna care. And it builds a ton of momentum for you as you grow. So then it starts to become this machine. And the beauty of this process too is that really, if you look at it from a big lens and you zoom out and we do the math, because that's important, we actually can see how many paying clients we're gonna need to achieve our target of 100K within 6 months. So if we do 2 clients a month at 8,400, that's gonna get us to this amount, roughly, each month, just a little over actually. And ultimately, that means that you only need to have 12 clients over the next 6 months to achieve your target. 12 clients in 6 months, pretty doable, right? You don't need to have millions of followers or even thousands of followers. You just need to have those direct conversations, and that starts to build momentum. Plus you're having people in the program who are committed, they're getting the results, creating social proof for you to get more and more people in the door. Because what are those paying clients gonna do if they get results? They're gonna tell everyone they know, you gotta be a part of this. This person's the best at whatever your expertise is. Or it could be 4 clients at 4,200 a month, which equals 24 in 6 months. Or you could do 8 clients at 2,100. And that means you would need 48 clients over 6 months. Not astronomical numbers, nothing crazy. This really boils it down and makes it feasible. And then to take that even a step further, because I know the more that you can understand the numbers, and trust me, I never used to be a numbers person, but now I love them because they allow you control over your business and predictability. This allows you to understand how to sell, who to sell to, and how much you actually have to sell. So seamless and anti-sleazeball selling means you know and have full control over how many people that you need to get in the door. You can really focus on nurturing people in the best and healthiest way possible to make sure you're only getting the right people in the door. And because you're actually having conversations with them, it's an act of generosity. If you have something that's solving the problem they have, it's seamless, just like it was in that example that I shared with Mike. People are grateful that you're saying, hey, I listened to you and I built what you needed. Do you want it? Well, yeah, I do. So if we look at Mike's actual numbers, he had 50 total calls. Of the 50, I think he said 35 of them took the calls, 10 were to fit, but 25 people enrolled. So that is a 71% conversion rate. That's insane. Why is it so high? Because he'd actually built a relationship with them. So something that we like to say is that relationships lead to revenue. It might be short-term, might be long-term, but actually listening to people and taking the time to do that, it leads ultimately to your business growth. So warmed up leads, high conversion rate. And you might be thinking to yourself, but how do I know what to price the program? Well, ultimately, because we're not just selling information which people can find for free, you're truly selling transformation and you're offering support along with it. And this lifetime access to be on the journey with them, you can sell it at a price point that absolutely reflects the value of what you're offering. And so the biggest indicator of how to price something is to look at the cost of actually not having it. So what is it costing your ideal client to not have the solution you provide to them? Mentally, financially, emotionally, relationship-wise. And we look at it from that perspective, you can go, oh wow, I think I'm undervaluing myself. And it makes achieving your targets a lot more feasible. And if you really want to do this at a very conservative level, because it's always better to be a little bit conservative about this so that you can overachieve rather than underachieve, because 71% is definitely not the norm. But when you do warm people up in this way and you take the time to do this, it is usually a high conversion rate, especially for the first round of your program. But if you want to look at it from a different perspective, let's say you want to make, let's just say you want to do 10K a month and you're going to charge $5,000. You need 2 clients, and we're going to times that by 5 because the conversion rate on a very conservative level would be, let's say, 20%. So you would need 10 leads a month to achieve 2 clients. And when you think about it, 10 leads is not a lot of people. So that's a very doable number, especially if you're doing it in this way where you're actually having these direct conversations. And here's the really cool thing about this. So let's say you only do convert 2 out of, let's say, 10 clients a month. Those 10 clients are not lost. Those 10 potential clients are not lost. What you want to do as you continue to grow and speak to more people is you want to add them to your email list so that you can send them valuable information, relevant content, magnetic messaging, as we talked about earlier, to continue to build your authority with them and your trust with them to the point where when they do make the decision to actually get help, they're going to go to you because you've built that relationship with them and you're doing it with a level of empathy that's kind of rare, to be honest with you, especially in the online world. And what's so beautiful about this is that all you need to sell is the ability to talk to people, and you need to know how to use Zoom. And I think everybody here watching probably knows how to do that. And if you don't, it's pretty darn easy to Google and learn. So that's all you need. You don't need anything else set up, as I mentioned at the beginning. So next we get to delivery. So the delivery of this first round is 6 to 8 weeks. And you're gonna deliver it live once a week with the entire group there, deliver your curriculum, test it in a real setting, so that by the end of these 6 to 8 weeks, you actually know exactly how to optimize your curriculum and your program to make it even better, so that when you package it, it's ready to go. And it's gonna be the most impactful version that it can be without you having to sort of guess what's required or what's needed to make it work for people. So again, super, super simple. 6 to 8 week delivery. You're gonna do 1 session a week, deliver your curriculum, which we usually just put into Google Docs because you're gonna change it and optimize it later, make it look good later. And Zoom, that's all you use. Just get your clients on Zoom, deliver it week to week. And then you can totally optimize it and package it once you finish this live delivery. So what we really like to say is test first, build later. So you don't actually build it out or pre-record the curriculum until we know it works. So this brings me kind of full circle to something I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and the myth of leads and traffic. So oftentimes people think you need paid ads or a bunch of content to attract clients, and all you really need are conversations. That is where the gold lies. Speaking to people one-to-one, and it requires a lot less work, and it builds a strong foundation to grow from. So like I said, warm to cold to magnetic messaging. That is the process, because then you actually have an audience that will care about what you're talking about. And what you really need to know, and why I said at the very beginning of the video, why having no audience actually can work in your favor. And even if you have a massive audience, you may not be able to really monetize it because it probably is filled with the wrong people. There are people with millions of subscribers that are barely scraping by. So warm traffic on its own is false advertising. If you only ever sell to people that are already following you and already have engagement with you, they're going to run out, which is why you constantly have to be growing the cold audience so that you're bringing new people into your realm. And that's where that flywheel I showed of how to leverage social algorithms is so important, because it's going to help you build this cold audience and a never-ending list of ideal clients that you can have a big impact on. And this is why oftentimes when people just sell a program to their email list and the people that already know them, it really does give them a false sense of success, because when they try to continuously sell it, there's crickets. So again, really important to understand this sequence and how important this cold piece is right here. So I think the biggest takeaway from this video is that regardless if you have no audience or you have a big audience, a small audience of the right leads is much more profitable than a large audience of random followers. So here's the little secret of this video, and what I wanted to really get to at the end is that this entire process is not, like I said earlier, a one and done. It's not a one-hit wonder. This is setting the foundation to scale from, and so that you can scale actually up to 100K a month and beyond that. And we have people we've worked with that have been able to do that. And so what that requires is you need to have this pre-recorded program, because then you're not delivering it live, you're not trading time for money, you have it optimized, it works, people can study it at their own pace, and you have the built-in coaching and community at scale, as mentioned earlier. So really what this looks like in longevity is you have traffic and leads, as we just talked about. And this is coming from one-to-one, / we call it on demand, whatever your platform of choice is. It could be your email list, it could be a social platform like Instagram or TikTok or whatever that may be. But most importantly, to really truly be able to scale, you have to have evergreen traffic. And evergreen traffic comes from a platform like YouTube. Why? Because there are people out there right now that are searching for the solution that you offer and your expertise. And all you need to do is make content that can show up for them in the results. Once they find you, then you can funnel them into being a part of your email list, being a potential lead for your program. That is the magic of YouTube. It works for you when you're not working. So using these two things in combination for traffic and leads is magic. And then from there, there's a whole series of events that can happen. So once you generate a lead, they become part of your email list, and then you create a nurture sequence to educate them on what it is that you do and ask them if they'd like to speak to you about it. So book a call. You also can have what's called a webinar or a VSL, video sales letter, to further educate them and warm them up, which is a free training, which then gets them to ultimately become a client or not. They'll get onto a sales call with you or discovery call with you or a strategy session or consultation, whatever it may be. You listen to them. That's the key theme. You diagnose if they are the right person at the right place, and you then decide if it makes sense to make them an offer to be part of your program, or if there's someone that you just want to follow up in the future. And this starts to build out a really steady pipeline of potential leads and clients so that you never run out of opportunity. So to wrap this all up and to tie it all together, you can tell I really love a good flywheel. So what this all starts with is having a transformational course. Obviously, once we have this, then we need to sell it. We need to enroll people. Once people enroll, they need to get results. And from there, once they get results, what happens? The same thing we talked about earlier. Word of mouth marketing is the best marketing you can have. These people are happy, they refer more people, you start to get more folks into your program, you start to get more results, and then the flywheel just starts turning on its own. We call this the engine that runs your online education business. And it truly, truly, truly does work. I hope this was really helpful for you. I hope you took a lot from it. And like I said, if you're ready to actually put this into action, we put together a guide with the 10 steps to scale your skill set and 10x your impact without trading time for money. Just comment, give me the guide below, or click the link in the description right now to grab it for free. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see this in action in another real world example, definitely check out this video next, where you can see a couple who was able to generate $100,000 in just 3 months implementing this strategy. It's amazing. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.